Council Room Radio Players presenting The Ambassadors of Death.
The Doctor, a strange and fantastical being from beyond the stars, having been punished by the Council of Time Lords from the planet Gallifrey for manipulations in the timeline by his previous selves. The Council has disabled his TARDIS and exiled him to Earth with partial memory loss after a forced regeneration. He now works with as a scientific advisor to the United Nations Intelligence Task Force Unit, along with his assigned assistant Liz Shaw, a talented scientific mind who has graduated from Cambridge University with over a dozen degrees. This is Doctor Who. Today's adventure is part one of The Ambassadors of Death, written by David Whitaker, Trevor Rail, and Malcolm Hulke. Adapted here by Joe Ackerman and directed by Ben Ellis. This documentary program reviews the events which occurred on the 21st of March, 1970, as they were witnessed at Mars Probe 7 Space Control. As the scene opens, we see news commentator Joan Wakefield, who has been given permission to film during the events. At the start of the event, all was going according to schedule, but the network was forced to cut away when it was clear there was a crisis happening. The filming continued, however, so we have this important recording of the events as they occurred. Wakefield is sitting behind a large desk on the other side of a glass wall with a clear view of the main space control room on the floor below. The control room was bustling with activity, which now has been paused as all present are staring at a big screen in the front of the room. The view they're concentrating on is a man in a ribbed spacesuit making fine adjustments to the path of a space capsule. Ms. Wakefield turns to speak to the camera.
Welcome, viewers. We have been granted unprecedented access to bring you this broadcast. In a few minutes, we shall know the answer to the question that has been occupying the minds of everyone here at Space Control since Mars Probe 7 took off on its return journey from the Red Planet nearly 8 months ago. What has happened to astronauts Frank Michaels and Joe Laffey? Communications remained perfect on the long outward journey to the Red Planet and throughout their difficult landing. For a full 12 hours, they sent back pictures and reports from the surface of Mars. Both of them seemed to be in perfect health, but then they fell silent. The world assumed that disaster had overtaken the mission, but when all hope was gone, radio astronomers at Cambridge reported that Mars Probe 7 had blasted off and was heading back to Earth. You can see from the radar screen just to the left of Professor Cornish, the recovery capsule and Mars Probe 7 are on converging trajectories. This is a tricky moment for the controller Ralph Cornish and his team. The two craft will be linking up in a moment or two. Then we shall know the answer to the mystery that has baffled the world's scientists for 7 months.
The camera shot closes in on Space Control Communications Room, and we're able to see more clearly the space pilot on their monitor screen, as well as the head of the control room who is speaking to him.
What is my distance from Mars Probe 7?
Distance computation, please, Dr. Tatalian.
Distance 580 miles. 7 minutes, 3 seconds to objective.
Confirmed. No contact yet.
There's been no contact for 7 months.
How do we know they're still alive?
They took off from Mars manually. They must have been alive then.
Something took off from Mars.
Charlie, do you have visual contact with the capsule yet?
I can see it. I'm up alongside.
Well done, Charlie. Everything looks good.
Ask him if it's definitely Mars Probe 7.
Charlie, can you give us definite identification it is Mars Probe 7?
No doubt about it. I can see the markings.
Fine. Do you hear anything from them?
Still nothing.
Try contact once more before link-up. It is possible their transmitter's too weak to reach us down here.
Recovery 7 to Mars Probe. Do you read me? I'm about to initiate link-up. Do you read me? Nothing, Ralph. I'm going to rotate from link-up now.
All right, Charlie. Go ahead.
The camera point of view moves to include another monitor in the space control room so the viewers can see the two space capsules are of similar size, but not the same design. We continue to watch the two monitors as Recovery 7 puts its slightly larger nose cone over the Mars probe and the spacesuited pilot making the maneuvers. We can no longer see anyone in the control room.
Buffeting slightly. Firing port retrojets to compensate. Moving in for link up now. I have link up.
Well done, Charlie. Everything looks fine down here.
Activating link locking clamps now.
Well, as you've just heard, Van Leyden has succeeded in achieving link up, a beautifully smooth operation in rather difficult circumstances. The capsules were buffeting slightly, however, Van Leyden completed the maneuver successfully.
All right, Charlie, talk us through.
Injecting air into the tunnel now.
Is the air holding?
Air pressure in tunnel okay. And moving to hatch door clamps. Releasing first clamp. First clamp away. Second clamp. I can hear something.
What is it, Charlie? What do you hear?
I think they're opening their hatch too. Yes, it's them. Second clamp away. Third clamp. Fourth. Opening hatch.
Van Leyden starts to float through the hatch, but then a noise makes his face contort in fear. We hear a noise come down to the comms, causing everyone to cover their ears. Then the sound suddenly stops. The camera has quickly pulled back its view to encompass the entire control room.
Charlie, what's happened? Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me? Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me?
They've run a complete check on all our circuits. There's no trouble on this end.
Can you send up another recovery capsule to investigate?
Not immediately. Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me?
Dr. Tatalian, do you have any explanation for that sound we just heard?
At the moment, no. There is a possibility that it was some kind of static.
Have you ever heard static like that before?
In space research, one is constantly encountering new and unexpected factors.
But will you confirm for us that all radio contact has been lost with the recovery capsule?
For the time being, yes, but temporary loss of communication is not unusual. For instance, when a capsule goes behind the moon,
But these two capsules are not behind the moon.
you can rest assured that everything possible is being done. Now, if you will excuse me.
Dr. Tatalian leaves the room to avoid further questions from the news person.
Well, as you see, there appears to be no apparent explanation for the sudden breakdown in communication, and until the situation becomes clear, the world must wait and hope.
Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me?
Are they still holding the same position?
Yes, they've kept on orbit.
Have you any idea what might have happened to Recovery 7?
Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me?
It could have been an excess of electricity in the Mars probe solar batteries. If Laffey and Michaels died on takeoff from Mars, there'd be no one to control the power buildup in the solar batteries.
And that would have affected Recovery 7 on link up?
When the capsules were joined, the electric circuits linked automatically. Excess electricity in one could have blown all the circuits of the other.
Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me?
Would that have killed the man on the Recovery 7 capsule?
Not necessarily. He might still be able to unlink and bring himself back, but without communications.
We start to hear a conversation from the doorway to the control room, just out of view of the news cameras. It attracts the attention of a military official in the control room, who is seen going over to the door to assess the disturbance.
My dear fellow, I simply don't happen to have a pass. Because I don't believe in them, that's why. Take your hands off me. I need to speak to the Brigadier.
It's all right. Let them in. I can vouch for these people. Doctor, what are you doing here?
That sound. Have you heard it again?
No.
You will.
He says it's some kind of a message. We were having tea while watching the broadcast. The doctor said he recognized that sound.
Well, what kind of message and from who?
Have you got a recording of that message?
I've no time to talk to the press.
Quite right, neither have I. Now that sound, have you got a recording of it?
Everything here is recorded.
Doctor, everyone here has a great deal to do.
No, they haven't. There's nothing anybody can do for the time being.
Brigadier, who is this?
He's one of my associates.
Will you kindly get your associates out of here?
Come along, Doctor.
Now you listen to me. That sound was some kind of a message, and it's going to be repeated.
Will you please get this man out of here? We're trying to save the lives of 3 astronauts.
Nonsense, man. You're doing nothing of the sort. There's nothing you can possibly do.
The noise starts up again. Everyone covers their ears but the doctor, who concentrates hard for as long as it lasts.
High frequency accelerated impulses. Now then, I shall need multiple copies of that recording, unlimited computer time, and somewhere to work. Miss Shaw, I shall need your help.
How did you know that sound was going to be repeated?
By exercising my intelligence. Now, since we didn't reply, the message would obviously be repeated. Now we've got to break down that code and answer them.
Answer whom?
The man's a fool. How can I possibly tell who the message is from until I know what it says? Let me explain this to you in very simple terms.
He is trying to help, Cornish. You might find him useful.
Might find me useful?
I mean that you, Doctor, could help Professor Cornish. He is the man in charge here.
Yes. Yes, of course. Look, my dear fellow, do please forgive this intrusion, but you really must let me decode those messages. It could prove of vital importance to the safety of your astronauts.
I suppose we must try everything, but how can you be so sure?
Another noise briefly blasts through the room.
It seems you're right. I'll see about that computer.
No, not now.
Do you want to crack the code? Send a reply?
That was the reply. Brigadier, I shall need worldwide triangulation immediately.
But we know where the transmissions were coming from. The capsule in orbit.
The first ones, yes, but not that last one. That was completely different. Now we've got to find out where that one was coming from.
I'll get on to it.
But aren't we too late now?
The message was repeated. Perhaps the reply will be also. All we can do now is wait.
The camera zooms in closer to the newsperson Wakefield again, reminding us that this is still a live reporting.
The mystery of Mars Probe 7 has deepened. 7.5 months of total silence, and now these strange transmissions for which the scientists here have no explanation. One theory is that it may be some kind of distress signal. As it is now some hours since the last signal from the capsules, it's difficult to see what can be done short of sending up another recovery craft. We will continue this broadcast as they determine next steps.
The Brigadier is seen putting pins in the map of the world posted on the wall of the control room.
That's Haystack,
And Algonquin,
Algonquin,
Arecibo,
Arecibo,
Cambridge.
Cambridge.
I have computerized the factors involved in sending up a second recovery capsule.
What's the minimum time for blastoff?
10 days.
That's impossible.
Volgograd.
Tokyo's just reported full cooperation.
Oh, that's good.
Tokyo. Right, that about covers the lot.
Well, if it's from Earth, this could give us the country. But that's not accurate enough. We must pinpoint the exact location.
Well, we've got every national radio service standing by with monitors. Wherever that signal's coming from, we'll find it.
Recovery 8 was not scheduled for liftoff until 3 months from now.
They'll have to speed it up.
You know they've got problems with the new fuel injection system.
The second noise repeats again, and we see inserted stock footage of radio telescopes performing maneuvers. Liz is on the phone at an empty computer monitor desk nearby.
From where? Nancy? Oui.
Something coming through.
Oui. Merci. Coordinates from France.
Right.
The Brigadier marks the location and presses a button. 3 lines light up on the map and cross at one point.
Yes. London.
Can't the Americans do anything?
I have checked. There is no capsule and go condition anywhere.
The doctor walks over to the map where the Brigadier was standing and starts to hit buttons randomly.
Is there a map of London on this thing?
A what?
A map of the city of London. It's very important.
That machine will give you surface maps of every surveyed planet, but a map of one city? No.
Useless gadget.
Doctor, never mind the map. Let me check with unit. This is the Brigadier. Yes. Yes, fine. Yes. Goodbye. My people have done a local triangulation.
What's the exact location?
An abandoned warehouse 7 miles from here.
For our listeners' information, so they may be better informed of the events as they transpire, we've inserted a dramatized scene compiled from eyewitness accounts and testimonies.
Run the message again. All the power you've got this time.
Full power, sir?
Have to risk it.
Right, sir. Do you think anyone's monitoring us, sir?
There's sure to be. Finding us is another matter.
Sir, units just pulled up 3 vehicles outside.
That's very efficient of them. Keep them off as long as you can.
Yes, sir.
Don't kill anyone unless absolutely necessary. Send the final transmission.
Have we time, sir?
Sergeant Collinson will hold them off.
Right, sir.
In the main part of the warehouse, Collinson shoots one of the unit soldiers, which causes a gunfight to erupt. After a few more exchanges of gunfire, each side hitting and disarming at least one opponent, Collinson leads his group from their hiding place. The brigadier leads some of his men out as well, leading to some hand-to-hand combat as their pistols run out of ammunition. The brigadier and Collinson wind up with their pistols firmly aimed at each other. Collinson knocks the gun out of the brigadier's hand and attempts to run away, but is caught by other unit soldiers. Collinson drops his weapon and puts his arms up in surrender.
Right. Take him. We need to find that transmitter.
Trigger the self-destructor, then climb out the window.
Right, sir.
Carrington fires 3 rounds into the floor, then climbs out the window after Gray. The brigadier and 2 unit soldiers burst in the door and look around just as the transmitter explodes. The scene is now returned to the news footage shot at Space Control. It seems no one has asked them to stop filming since this current crisis has developed.
Look, if I'm to help you people, I need full cooperation.
What's the trouble?
I specified the need for computer time. If I'm to decode those messages, I need a computer to review this tape recording.
Go and see Dr. Tatalian. That's her department.
Yes, so she's just informed me, but she's being totally uncooperative.
I'll speak to her.
We see Cornish push a certain button and a flat screen rises out of the desk. Tatalian's face appears on the screen.
I told you to give the doctor full cooperation. See that he gets it.
Yes, of course I will.
Now, if you will excuse me.
Yes.
Houston just called in. They can't raise our space capsules either.
Well, that's the least of our worries now. Athens have reported a solar flare buildup, a big one.
Well, when do they expect it?
Anytime within the next 24 hours.
But the craft will never survive that level of solar radiation. You'll have to bring them down on remote control.
They're locked on manual. There's nothing we can do. Space Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me? Space Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me? Athens has reported a dangerous solar flare buildup. It is imperative you unlock manual control so we can bring you down. I repeat, we have a message from Athens Observatory. There is a massive solar flare building up. The flare is expected any time within the next 24 hours. Space Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me? Space Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me?
Dr. Tatalian is hiding behind the door as the doctor and Liz enter a computer room with a large reel of magnetic tape. She slams the door shut and points a gun at them.
I want that tape.
Do you realize the importance of it?
Rather more than you, Doctor.
So, you understood the message.
Hand it over.
What are you going to do with it?
Doctor, give me that tape.
Well, since you insist.
The doctor holds out the reel of computer tape, which disappears right before Tatalian can take it.
This is no time for conjuring tricks. Put up your hands.
Tatalian searches the doctor, but does not find the reel.
Where is that tape?
Perhaps he sent it into the future.
Doctor, are you trying to force me to shoot you?
Ah, Doctor, there you are. I think you...
Careful, Brigadier. She's frightened.
Be quiet. Don't try to follow me after I leave.
Tatalian exits the room, leaving the door shut loudly behind her, muttering to herself about forgetting which doors don't have locks.
I'll go after him.
Yes, of course.
Guards?
Liz, are you all right?
I'm quite unhurt.
I think we can safely leave her to the Brigadier.
What did you do with the tape?
Oh, the tape. It's here in my hand.
You didn't send it into the future, did you?
No. That was simply transmigration of an object. There's a great deal of difference between that and pure science, you know. Now then, what about decoding this tape?
It'll be the analog digital converter.
Yes, that's just what I was looking for.
Let me lace the tape into the machine for you, Doctor.
Oh, thank you.
She got away. This place is like a rabbit warren. I've set up a search.
Brigadier, what did you find at the warehouse?
The transmitter. We took several prisoners. One of them knows a great deal more than he's saying.
Well, I'd like to have a talk with him.
The camera suddenly refocuses back on Wakefield as we see Cornish approaching her.
Why are you still recording? I verified with the network you are no longer broadcasting live. You need to stop now and give us all your footage.
We were granted exclusive access to not only broadcast the probe's return to Earth live, but also additional footage for the historical records.
Fine. I will deal with you and your footage later then. I don't have time right now. Just keep your crew out of our way.
In another scene where cameras were not present, the Brigadier and the Doctor enter a Unit HQ detention cell to speak to one of the men who tried to run away from the Brigadier during the encounter at the warehouse.
Well, have you decided to talk yet? Why didn't you shoot me when you had the chance?
You were under orders not to harm the Brigadier, weren't you? Who gave you those orders?
I can't answer any questions.
Anything found on him?
No, his pockets were empty.
Clothes?
Sort of thing you can buy anywhere. But the labels were cut out.
You've been very thorough, haven't you?
You're in very serious trouble, you know. I can hold you on security charges for a very long time.
Don't you realize that the men you are working with were seriously interfering with our space program, and therefore endangering the lives of 3 astronauts?
Look, I want answers from you, and I'm going to get them.
Brigadier, you're wasting your time.
This man knows something.
Yes, I know. But he's not going to tell us, and I think we've got more important things to do.
I'll knock on the door so the corporal knows we're ready to leave.
Looking after you all right, are they? Have you had a cup of tea?
Oh, yes, thanks.
That's good. Stand to attention when you're talking to me and call me sir.
Sir, I was not aware I needed to salute you, sir.
Just as I thought. A sergeant, aren't you?
A soldier? Are you a deserter?
Oh, no. He's acting under orders.
Any additional information from that interrogation has not been included in the official records, so we return to the transcripts of events happening at Space Control.
There has been another extraordinary development in the mystery of Mars Probe 7. The 2 space capsules, Mars Probe 7 and Recovery 7, which have been locked together in radio silence, have now separated. But there is still no communication from Charles Van Leyden, nor from astronauts Michaels and Lafee.
Still no word from them?
Nothing. Space Control to Recovery 7. Do you read me?
Tracking report. Capsules now approximately 7 miles apart.
11 minutes from scheduled re-entry burn.
I wish I had your confidence.
Tracking report. Distance between capsule widening 9 miles, 13 miles, 25 miles.
It started.
10 minutes too soon. What's he think he's doing?
Well, that's it for now. I'd better go and see how Liz is getting on with the decoding.
Don't you want to see what happens?
Oh, no. No, if they're going to attempt a re-entry, they must make at least one Earth's orbit. The decoding should be done in time for re-entry.
I'll run a security trace on our prisoner.
Tracking report. Recovery 7, speed now 18,000 miles per hour and increasing. Capsule will leave our radar range within 3 minutes. Closing 2.95.
Notify global tracking stations. Fix an open communication circuit. I want that capsule tracked every second.
Yes, there's no pattern to it at all. It's nonsense.
Perhaps because we're feeding it nonsense. Maybe that sound from the capsule is just freak static.
Yes.
I wonder,
Wonder what?
maybe there's a computer malfunction. I'll check at this other monitoring station.
That's impossible. There's a self-checking mechanism.
Well, even that could go wrong. I'll play it a standard test program.
Never mind all that. Ask it what 2 and 2 make.
Oh, all right.
This is ridiculous. I checked that machine this morning.
How long have you known Dr. Tatalian?
Well, I've been her chief assistant for 2 years. I still can't believe all this.
It says 2 and 2 make 5.
Ah, it's typical. I never did trust those stupid things.
No, this isn't just malfunction. Tatalian must have sabotaged it.
Reappearance time this hemisphere, 10 seconds.
Tracking report from Massachusetts. Height, 100 miles. Speed, 20,000 and reducing. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Capsule now in our tracking range and control range.
Main control, start transmitting now.
We have contact. We have contact.
Transmitter's on now.
It's not responding. Repeat transmission. Boost power.
Repeat transmission now.
It's no good.
Tracking report. Height, 90 miles and reducing. Speed, 20,000 and holding.
It'll burn up.
It's responding.
Recommence transmission and maintain.
Recommencing transmissions now.
Fire retrojets, 5 seconds.
Retrojets, 5 seconds. Now.
We have radar contact on screen now.
Tracking report. Height, 85 miles, still reducing. Speed, 18,000, reducing to 17,000. 16,000.
Well, after what was a pretty rough re-entry of the spaceship into Earth's atmosphere, astronauts Van Lyden, Michaels, and Lafee will soon be experiencing the buffeting of our atmosphere when their huge parachutes deploy to lower them the last few miles of their descent. Under normal circumstances, and with 2 or 3 Earth orbits as a run-up, Controller Cornish could bring them to within 100 yards of their scheduled landing place. As it is now, all we know is that the space capsule is about to land somewhere in the south of England.
Drop speed, now 30 miles an hour and reducing.
Capsule drifting south-southwest 2 degrees. Rate of drift 3 knots.
Ground level preparations completed.
The area will be cordoned off as soon as it lands.
Civil air routes warned. Airlines cleared.
All planes have been diverted.
Drop speed, now 22 miles per hour, reducing to 18. Height, 1 mile. Drift rate, 3 knots. Contact lost. Contact lost.
Something wrong?
No, they always lose radar contact in the last few seconds.
We've made it.
Well done, old chap. Well done.
Yes, congratulations, Controller. Wonderful job.
If they're alive.
This is an excellent opportunity to watch history continue to happen. Our cameras have been allowed to accompany the rest of the team as they go to the landing site of the capsule and greet our brave extraworldly travelers as they disembark from their ship. We have also left a camera back at Space Control Communications Room just in case there are any further breakthroughs there.
Hello, Recovery 7. Do you read me? This is Cornish. You are safe and landed. Okay to open the hatch? Hello, Recovery 7. Do you read me? It's no use. Must be unconscious.
Better try opening it ourselves.
It's impossible. Either the mechanism's jammed or
They've locked it from the inside.
Then we'll have to cut it open.
it's too dangerous for the astronauts.
Then what are we going to do?
Take it back to Space Center.
Right. Brigadier to Unit Control. Brigadier to Unit Control. Unit Control, I want a route cleared from here to the Space Center. Outriders, top priority.
By the time you get the capsule back to the Space Center, I'll have everything ready.
I'll go with the capsule.
The camera pans back to show the capsule is being hoisted onto a low-loader truck trailer. We also see the doctor under the hood of a yellow automobile named Bessie.
See you at the Space Center.
All right.
If you make it, keep it to the prepared route and clear the way ahead for us. My vehicle and the camera crew will bring up the rear.
The low loader begins to crawl away with the capsule. The doctor starts Bessie up to follow, but the car begins to turn around and stops again. By the time the doctor gets Bessie going again, the convoy is some ways away. As the convoy progresses without the doctor and Bessie, a helicopter without any marking swoops low and drops smoke grenades in front of the convoy. The convoy halts due to a lack of visibility as the helicopter lands and two people leap out firing alien weapons at the unit motorcycle escort. The helicopter takes off again to keep buzzing the area. The brigadier tries to shoot one of them but is knocked out by the alien weapon. The trailer with the capsule is captured and driven away, disappearing into the distance as the smoke from the grenades dissipates. The camera footage reveals the drivers of the stolen truck are Carrington and Gray, the ones who escaped from the unit raid at the warehouse. Bessie is bumping down the road when the doctor looks back to see the truck coming towards him quickly. He parks Bessie in the middle of the road, forcing them to stop.
Get out of the way.
I'm afraid I can't.
Will you please get out of the way, sir? We're carrying very important cargo.
Yes, well, if you want me to get out of the way, I'm afraid you'll have to help me. Old Bessie seems to have stopped.
Fine, we'll get out of the truck to help you push your vehicle out of our way.
Ready? I'll let the brakes off. Right. Push.
As they are pushing Bessie to the side of the road, the doctor flicks an anti-theft switch on the dashboard. Gray and Carrington's hands are stuck to Bessie.
Thank you very much. Oh, don't worry. It'll switch itself off. Eventually. And I will take this cargo where it's supposed to go.
The doctor successfully drives the truck containing the Recovery 7 capsule to the Space Control hangar. Technicians immediately begin working on it.
Brigadier, good thing Bessie wouldn't make that turn onto the prepared route. This capsule was almost hijacked.
Doctor, thank heavens you're all right. We found your car. Thought they'd got you too.
Didn't you find two angry military types stuck to my car?
No, just the car.
I'm gonna go check on Liz to see how she's progressing on that tape.
Will you be able to make contact?
I'm not sure. The equipment's being connected now.
We continue to film at the hangar and the control room both, since the network sent us additional resources. If these events take us elsewhere as well, we will attempt to accompany them. The following scene occurred at the control room as I was at the hangar.
You're right, Liz. This is a definite attempt at pictographic communication.
Could be just random patterns.
What, with this symbol repeated twice? And this one repeated 4 times? Oh no.
Who in the world would want to send a message in this form?
No one on this world, but an alien intelligence so different is the only way they could communicate. I think it's high time the Brigadier and I had a talk with the top man.
Dobson calling. They've just left. They've started to crack the code.
Dobson sees the camera crew filming him and goes over to confront them.
What are you doing here? Are you recording me?
We have permission to film the events surrounding the probe's return at the Space Center for the historical record.
Get away from me.
The Brigadier and the doctor have left the Space Center to visit a civil servant's well-appointed office. They are conversing with a well-dressed man in a suit, seated behind the desk of this office. Exactly what are you suggesting?
I should have thought that was obvious. Every step we take, someone's ahead of us.
Yes. Dr. Tatalian, for instance. I've got her file here, checked and double-checked. Like everyone working on this project. And yet, she sabotages her own computer, draws a gun on the doctor, and then runs away like a criminal.
Well, it's extraordinary. I've known Brenda Tatalian for years.
Look, that is quite beside the point. The question is, who else is involved?
I can see your reasoning for concern, but you have the capsule back now.
Oh yes, we've got the capsule back all right, and it's safely installed at the Space Center, but the astronauts still refuse to come out.
Well, I shall initiate a top-level investigation immediately, Brigadier. I am certain you will be wanting to get back to the Space Center now.
Is that all you've got to say, Sir James? Sweep it all under the carpet.
Come on, Doctor. I'll keep you informed, sir.
I shall be most grateful, Brigadier. Thank you, gentlemen.
The crew at the hangar are still attempting communication with whomever is inside the capsule. If they continue to get no response, they will likely have to cut it open.
Recovery 7, do you read me?
Any response yet?
Nothing.
Recovery 7, do you read me?
Well, I suggest we cut it open.
I've got men with thermal lances standing by.
I think I'm getting something. Hello, Recovery 7, do you read me? Recovery 7, do you read me?
Hello, Space Control. This is Recovery 7. Will you clear us for re-entry?
Charlie, this is Ralph Cornish. You are back at Space Control. Open the capsule.
We are not cleared for re-entry.
Charlie, you are back at Space Control. What's wrong? Open the hatch.
Hello, Space Control. This is Recovery 7. Will you clear us for re-entry?
Let me try. Hello, Van Leyden. What is the capital of Australia?
We are not cleared for re-entry.
How many beans make 5?
Hello, Space Control. This is Recovery 7. Will you clear us for re-entry?
Van Leyden.
We are not cleared for re-entry.
Right, cut it open.
We have paused our footage at the hangar while the capsule's door was cut away. We put fresh tape in our camera so we would not run out during any more exciting developments. They are about to look inside the capsule since no one seems to be immediately crawling out towards us.
It's empty.
What? Let me see.
But we were talking to Van Leyden.
Liz, try them again.
Hello, Recovery 7, do you read me?
Hello, Space Control. This is Recovery 7. Will you clear us for re-entry?
The doctor points at a tape machine inside the capsule, whirring away.
Well, well, well. A tape recorder.
Triggered off by our speech.
Then where are the astronauts?
Well, someone wanted us to believe they were still inside there. That tape recorder is not a standard part of their equipment, is it?
No, of course not.
Then somebody put it in there, didn't they?
Why?
To delay us opening the capsule.
Why should they want to do that?
Well, to gain time. Now suppose the astronauts were still in there when it landed, and later they were removed.
No, that's impossible. The capsule's been guarded all the time, and you two were here.
Except when your men turned us out for that security check.
What?
They sent us back to the control room while they searched the area.
I take it you didn't order this?
No, I didn't.
Well, there you are then. A bogus patrol turns up, clears the area, and removes the astronauts at their leisure.
Who would want to kidnap 3 astronauts?
Yes, perhaps the same people who replied to that message.
I think I'll have a word with my guard commander.
Yes, I'll come with you. I want to speak to Quinlan again also.
Doctor,
Yes? What is it?
the Geiger counter is on maximum. The interior is radioactive. If anyone was in there, they're as good as dead.
The scene shifts to open on what appears to be a medical-type laboratory, where 3 fully suited and helmeted figures lie in an observation area. Carrington is there also, now in full military uniform.
2 million rats. Scientifically, they should be dead.
But they're not.
When we tried to remove their helmets, they resisted violently.
I told you not to remove the protective clothing.
General Carrington, these men have received massive doses of radiation. They need total blood transfusions immediately. They need antibiotics, cortisone injections. You don't understand the situation. They must reduce the radiation.
Just increase it.
Are you mad? That would be murder.
The radiation which affects these men is something totally new to us. To survive it, they must become dependent on it.
What you are saying is contrary to everything that is understood about radioactivity.
You must feed them radiation, otherwise they will die.
No. You can't ask me to do that.
I'm not asking you.
The Brigadier, Liz, and the doctor have arrived at Sir James Quinlan's office again, now with the cameraman following them, recording their conversations.
I don't think you can sweep all this under the ministerial carpet, Sir James. Someone in authority has done this.
The astronauts were in your charge, Brigadier.
They were taken from the Space Center by 2 Army officers.
Obviously imposters.
The papers of authorization were genuine. The passes were made for the names of 2 non-existent officers. They had a platoon of men and an Army vehicle of the latest design. Not the sort of thing you can buy at an Army surplus store.
You've been very thorough, Brigadier. It's a pity you've no explanation to offer for these strange occurrences.
We haven't come here to offer explanations, Sir James. We've come to demand them. From you.
All right.
You mean you're going to tell us the truth?
No, but I'm going to introduce you to the man who can. Will you please come in, General? May I introduce General Carrington, head of the newly formed Space Security Department.
Space security? Weren't you an astronaut on Mars Probe 6?
Yes, I was. Please sit down, Brigadier. I apologize. I owe you all an apology. I can only ask you to believe that everything I have done has been for the good of us all.
Does that include sending coded messages to Mars Probe 7 and kidnapping 3 astronauts?
And Dr. Brenda Tellington holding a gun on us in the computer room?
Tatalian was under strict orders to make sure you didn't have access to the computer. You see, every astronaut is issued an emergency code only to be used in the ultimate emergency. This is the code you've been trying to crack. The message we received from Mars Probe 7 told us that the deep space capsule had passed through a hitherto unsuspected high-density radiation belt on its way to Earth's orbit.
Why didn't you inform Space Control at once?
Security.
Then why wasn't UNIT informed, sir?
UNIT is an international organization, and our government wanted to keep this in its own hands.
Yes, but why all this extraordinary behavior? Surely radiation is a normal hazard of space travel.
We believe this radiation to be of a different kind. We believe it to be self-sustaining and highly contagious, and that it could spread like a plague, contaminating the entire planet.
We don't want the public to become panic-stricken.
Well, it seems to have been a question of the right hand fighting the left, doesn't it, Brigadier?
Good. Well, I hope this explanation has eased your minds.
Well, it hasn't eased mine.
I'm sorry?
I should like to take a look at these mysteriously irradiated astronauts for myself, if I may.
There's no need for that. They're in expert hands.
Nevertheless, I would still like to see them.
Well, I don't see it could do any harm, Carrington. I will meet you at Space Control after you show them the astronauts.
Oh, very well then. I will take you there now. But I can assure you they are perfectly safe.
The doctor drives up to the shed with Carrington, Liz, and the Brigadier. Carrington opens the shed doors, but they find no one there. The Brigadier runs to the phone on the wall immediately.
Hello, Unit Control. This is the Brigadier.
Perfectly safe, were they?
This is a yellow alert.
I don't understand it. Who would have done this?
I want a full emergency team.
Doctor, look at this.
Map reference C341.
These seem to be the same radiation records of the missing astronauts. Over 2 million rads. They couldn't possibly have survived that amount.
Liz, what were those exact radiation figures again?
2,102,462.
Thank you.
Are you figuring something out?
Possibly.
These are the complete readings.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's the most extraordinary thing. Those astronauts were emitting radiation like walking reactors.
But radiation destroys human tissue.
Yes, I know.
The radioactive trace goes to just outside the building, then it vanishes.
Obviously, they were taken away in a radiation-shielded vehicle.
Why should anyone kidnap them?
Contagious radiation could be a terrible weapon in the hands of a foreign power.
Who else knew the location of this laboratory, sir?
Only my immediate staff.
And Sir James Quinlan and his immediate staff. Well, Doctor, any luck?
Well, I can tell you where your 3 astronauts are.
Well?
They're still in orbit.
But they came down in the capsule. They were here. I saw them.
No, you saw 3 spacesuits. I don't know what came down to Recovery 7, but it certainly wasn't human. We need to go back to Space Control Command.
After returning to the command room, the doctor repeats himself to Professor Cornish.
And you really think that they're still in orbit in the Mars probe?
I do.
Their life support systems will be running down. We've got to send up another recovery capsule.
I should do that as quickly as possible if I were you.
Yes, we don't really know if the astronauts are up there.
Well, if there's any possibility they're alive up there, we've got to go and get them.
Yes, of course. But the government simply will not authorize expenditure on such little evidence.
We're not talking about money. We're talking about human lives.
Well, yes, indeed.
Sir James, I'm going to start preparations now. Unless I get your full backing, I'll call a press conference and tell them the entire story.
I would advise you not to do that.
Then you'll have to make sure that I don't have to.
I'm going back to my office. You may contact me there.
Now that he's gone, I just received notification that 2 bodies had been found in a gravel pit in nearby Hertfordshire. They died from radiation. I have to get down there.
I'm going down to the hangar to further look over the capsule we retrieved earlier.
Our transcripts now return to the laboratory where the 3 astronauts are lying in an isolation chamber.
They must be dying.
I don't think so.
Well, I can't deal with them here. They should be in the intensive care unit in a hospital.
You've got your instructions, Lennox.
Dr. Lennox, if you don't mind.
I thought they took that away from you.
You've got to let me examine those men.
It's against orders.
The radiation count has dropped drastically. They should be recovering.
That's good then.
But one of them collapsed when he tried to get up from his bed.
Well, I was hired to get them to this lab. That's all.
Well, you weren't hired to let him die.
We don't know they're dying.
Reagan, do you think you'll get your money if they're dead?
Fine. I will unlock the door and go in to examine them myself.
What about protective clothes?
You said the radiation had dropped. I won't be hanging about in there.
Regan puts on a pair of protective gloves and goes through the little airlock into the isolation chamber. He helps the collapsed astronaut back onto the bed, but it suddenly pushes him aside and knocks him down. The astronaut exits the isolation chamber and goes into the lab. As it stretches its hands towards Lennox's face, it slowly crumbles to the floor.
It's all right. It's all right. I want to help you. Can't you understand? I want to help you.
Shut up. Help me get him back in there. Now it's back in the isolation room. I need to make this call on the intercom. Isotopes? Well, you'd better get them over here. I found out what's wrong with these fellows. They don't need less radiation, they need more.
A few minutes later, an assistant dressed in radiation gear enters the room with a container of radioactive isotopes.
Ah, good. Place those isotopes in the isolation room with the container open.
Man, I feel as if I just murdered them.
You just keep doing what you're told. They'll be all right.
Oh, it's working. They're moving.
I told you they'd be all right. They thrive on this stuff.
We return to the Space Center hangar to check on the progress of the doctor's investigation.
I just swept this entire capsule for radiation again. It's the most extraordinary thing. The radioactive contamination has almost vanished. If you can't get Recovery 8 ready in time, you can use this capsule.
Provided we can get the 3,000 tons of rockets to go underneath it. Everything's taking just that little bit longer than it should.
And why do you think that is?
I think it's got something to do with Sir James Quinlan.
Could you prove it?
No.
Doctor?
You're back soon.
Well, I started back an hour ago.
But Liz has just gone to meet you. We received a message asking us to join you. You didn't send it.
No, I'll find her.
Our view gets switched to Liz driving the doctor's yellow car, Bessie. As she realizes she's being followed, 2 men force Bessie off the road.
We're being followed.
How do you know that it isn't just someone traveling the same roadway?
Well, they are coming up behind us quickly. I will pull over and see if they pass.
The 2 men in the other vehicle are not content to merely pass Bessie. They're forcing Liz off the road, sending them into a culvert. Liz gets out to run away across a field, but almost falls down the slope into a stream. The men catch her and pull her back up. The camera operator seems to be unconscious, but the camera continues to record.
Will you let go of my arm? You're hurting me. Ow!
You are coming with us. Now get in the vehicle.
Where are you taking me?
You'll find out soon enough. The more you struggle, the more bruises you'll have.
What about the camera operator? He's recording all of this, you know.
His camera isn't likely to be recording without him being awake to operate it. Fine, we'll bring him along.
A short drive later, Regan forces Liz and the camera operator down some stairs into a lab with an isolation chamber.
I've brought you some company.
Ah, yes. I met her once when she was doing some research at Cambridge. But this isn't the one you said she was with, though.
Oh, the other wouldn't keep the appointment, but she had this camera operator in tow. Since she's a scientist, she can give you a hand.
Dr. Lennox?
Somebody remembers you. How are our zombie friends?
Surviving, but only just.
I didn't expect them to be dancing a jig. Start making yourself useful, girl.
What if I don't?
I might just lock you in there with them.
Our teams are continuing to work at the Space Center control room on how best to retrieve our lost astronauts. We are so privileged to be allowed to film their progress, solving this historically unprecedented, unexpected mission. As long as we stay out of their way, we will be allowed to continue filming.
We've been unable to locate Miss Shaw and your yellow car. I've issued Miss Shaw's description to every police force in the country.
Why? Do you expect her to be wandering the streets?
No, sir. Just a formality.
I took the liberty of examining the things we found in the bodies of those two men.
They should have gone to forensics, sir. Untouched.
No need for that. Forensics can't tell us anything we can't see for ourselves. Look, newspaper cuttings in a foreign language.
Anyone can buy a foreign newspaper, General.
What about this comb, then? With the marker's mark in it in the same language.
Let me see that. Very remiss of them, keeping this.
They could have been planted.
No, the only people who could have set up an organization of this size would be foreign agents with enormous resources behind them.
And hair combs.
They may want to use the radiation astronauts as a weapon.
I've told you where your astronauts are, General. They're still in orbit.
That's ridiculous.
Is it? When your Professor Heldorf had the aliens in his care, he started to record some sort of radio communication impulses.
Astronauts do have walkie-talkies in their helmets, you know.
Then why didn't Heldorf talk to them and report that to us?
Yes, well, perhaps he was recording the level of radioactivity in their bodies.
Yes, well, I don't think so. If I go to the communications room to use the Space Center computer, I trust Italian won't hold a gun on me this time.
Doctor, nothing's to be gained by deciphering these impulses. Our objective should be to find the missing astronauts.
General, how many times must I tell you? Your astronauts are still in orbit. My objective is to find out what these aliens are trying to say to us.
What's the K factor?
Fuel, 1,297 tons.
No other available source?
Liquid fuel in production, 2,000 tons.
Well, that can be speeded up.
The new M3 variant is highly volatile. It was not intended for manned spaceflight.
We'll have to use it.
The liftoff rate would crush the astronaut.
What about reducing the G's by mixing K and M3?
I will compute that. But you still have to get your rocket built.
The minister is putting up every possible objection.
What do you expect? This doctor's theory is ridiculous.
I thought you were supposed to be helping me. Or do you intend to commit more sabotage?
I was ordered to do that by General Carrington. I have computed the assembly of the rescue rocket just as you asked me.
Tatalian, you're not armed, I hope.
I would not have used that gun. Not on a fellow scientist.
Thank you. I'm much relieved.
Have they found your assistant?
No, not yet. May I have the use of your computer?
Yes, certainly. And I'm sure Dr. Tatalian will be only too pleased to help you. When you have a moment, I'd like to see you in the control room about the recovery capsule.
I'd like to program these impulse records, if I may.
What do you hope to learn from them?
Well, if I knew, I wouldn't need a computer, would I?
To make a start, we must have some idea.
Well, I suspect some sort of pattern.
This could take a long time.
Well, it mustn't, Italian. It mustn't.
Doctor, I am not trying to obstruct you.
These impulses are mathematical formulae for building an electronic device.
What sort of an electronic device?
I'll have to build it to find out, won't I?
Excuse me. Hello? Tatalian here. Yes? Who is that? A moment, please. It's for you.
Thank you. Hello? Yes? Yes, it is. Who is this?
The doctor hangs up the phone and goes back to work on the formulas.
Who was it?
Someone threatening to kill Miss Shaw if I don't stop interfering. Well, let's get back to work, shall we?
In defiance of a message threatening Miss Shaw's life?
Well, how are these people going to know what I'm doing unless somebody tells them?
Who would do that?
You, for instance?
You are being most insulting.
And you are being continually obstructive.
I acted under the orders of General Carrington.
Did you? Or are you involved with the people who are really behind this?
What people are you talking about?
The people who kidnapped Miss Shaw, who kidnapped the 3 astronauts.
Have you told the Brigadier about your suspicions?
No, not yet.
Why not, if you're so sure of your facts?
Well, I thought I'd offer you some sort of alternative. A ruthless investigation by the Brigadier, or a few quiet words with me, and your name kept out of things.
I don't know what you are talking about.
I think you do, Tatalian, and I'm going to give you a little time to think it over. Right, well, if you'll excuse me, I must see what can be done about building this machine. Think over what I've said. I shall expect an answer from you very soon.
The camera accompanying Liz continues to film while they were in the underground laboratory. The operator seems to be unconscious. We see Liz working at a computer console.
2 million rads, dropping to 2 million minus 50,000.
Minus 50,000. You'd better tell Regan we've only got one more canister left. Well, do you want him to die?
You'd better be right.
Are you a prisoner here too?
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
Are you or aren't you?
I can come and go as I please, but I haven't really got anywhere to go.
You were a respected scientist once.
Grossly underpaid. Can you help me get this radiation suit, gloves, and helmet on? I need to take the last isotope canister in there.
Lennox makes a show of being unable to pick up a key she placed on the desk after she has the gloves on her hands.
I seem to have lost my key for that door up there somewhere. They'll find me in the isolation chamber, locked and bolted from the outside. Do you understand?
Yes, of course. Why don't you come with us?
Where would I go?
Liz puts the radiation helmet on Lennox and picks up the key. She opens the isolation chamber door and Lennox enters. She locks and bolts it behind Lennox. Liz then goes to rouse the camera operator, only to find he's been feigning unconsciousness all this time. They run up the stairs to escape. After a short run through some woods, they reach a road where they try to flag down a driver passing by. The first car does not stop, but the second one does.
Dr. Tatalian.
Get in, Miss Shaw. I'm taking you back where you escaped from.
I tell you, nobody helped me. The door was left unlocked.
You might have killed poor Lennox, locking her in there with those things.
She should have thought of that before she joined you.
Get over there and help her. And as for you, that thing doesn't record while you're not able to operate it, right?
Masters hold the camera operator by the neck until he passes out.
And Will, make sure that door is kept locked. Did you bring it, Dr. Tatalian?
These are the operating instructions. This is the communication code. It's quite simple.
A little too simple.
What does that mean?
I need to talk to those things.
You have a list of simple signals and commands. Transmit and they will obey.
And if they don't?
You threaten to cut off their supply of radiation. There's a signal for that too.
And translating their replies? There's a machine for that?
Yes, in my computer room. You don't need it.
I'm the one dealing with these creatures.
You will use these creatures to carry out a series of raids on carefully chosen targets. You know enough to do your job, but I have further instructions for you.
Have you now?
Your call to the doctor threatening that girl's life was stupid.
It might have slowed him down a little.
On the contrary, it merely made him more determined and suspicious. Suspicious of me.
Too bad.
He has got to be put out of the way permanently.
To save your neck?
He is about to discover how to construct one of those machines.
Clever.
He's got to be stopped.
All right, I'll deal with him. And since your own skin's in danger, you can help me.
When Liz drove away in Bessie, another camera and operator were dispatched to follow the Brigadier, who we now find at his office and unit with the doctor.
Tatalian? Do you have any proof?
No, not a scrap.
Then why accuse her?
Something even her computers don't have. Intuition. I think I rattled her.
Tatalian was acting under Carrington's orders. Quinlan explained that.
Yes, I know. I heard him, and I didn't believe a word of it.
Why not?
Well, first they tried keeping us in the dark altogether, and when that didn't work, they fell back on some prepared cover story. Contagious radiation and foreign agents indeed.
Yes, those two poor lads. What is happening then, Doctor?
I don't know.
Will the doctor figure it out in time? Will Miss Shaw get killed by her captors? What happened to the missing British astronauts? Tune in for part 2 of this radio play adventure to be aired in March.
Woo! Bum, 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 bum. Thank you all for attending.
Doctor Who is a trademark of BBC, copyright 1963.